Hello, my name is Natalia, and I have built the unboxing podcast. Have been like 2 months on this project, but of course, the idea of building a podcast is something that has been living with me like for almost 6 years actually, because I wanted to build a platform and I have been always like starting and not fulfilling, starting and not completing. And this time I'm following through because I'm almost 40 and I think it's time. So the first thing that I was like focusing on is like this need of a space for people that are experiencing this multicultural living and experiencing the no belonging to nowhere. So yes, the belonging crisis, and I myself have experienced it, and I thought that is why I am ready to start this. And as you see, there is 44% of Gen Z that say that they feel don't belong anywhere fully, and that is just one part of the population. And I wanted to focus not on the generational aspect, but more of the psychographical aspect, because we have people that are feeling they don't connect with the society and that they feel alienated, and that for in my perspective has nothing to do with the generational aspect, but has more to do with the emotional state that and the things that we are experiencing. So yes, I see here people that are actively seeking for podcasts, especially ones that feel human and authentic. And I think that in the society that we're experiencing now, where we are very disconnected from reality, a lot of AI and all of that, I think it's time for people like me to come across and show that we are still human and maybe take people a little bit back and have this human connection. Audiences trust personal voices more than institutions. And yes, that's 100% true. People are craving authentic spaces where complexity is welcome. I can put myself in the shoes of others that being complex, being weird, being different, and being treated weirdly differently and being excluded, or in a positive word, not included. So we're building a podcast that is going to be providing this companionship, the emotional support, and also a space for reflection. We're going to try to build this intimate conversational format that is the podcast, as many people actually feel connected when they listen to others talk and share stories. Um, we have a very high engagement for podcast in Iceland, but across the globe as well. So we can see that there is an opportunity here in Iceland, and of course also in the Nordics and worldwide. The unboxing podcast creates spaces of recognitions where listeners feel seen, understood, and less alone. As the main problem is the feeling of belonging, we want to build this space where people feel they belong, they connect, they can hear the stories and say, "Yes, I'm also feeling the same. I'm also experiencing the same. How did you manage? How did you handle the situation?" That's like kind of mentoring, but at the same time companionship, like being together going through this and making it work. People who don't feel they belong usually struggle with superficial conversations, performative spaces, levels that don't reflect their life and their lived reality. So, most of the time when I enter a space, people ask me, "What do you do?" Like if they need to put a tag on me, like the girl that do marketing, the girl that do social media, or they need to put a tag, the foreigner, the immigrant. And I think that I don't feel I connect to the people that start conversation with what do you do? Because I prefer to connect, and it's easier for me to connect with people that care who I am and that takes me for what they see, not what for what they stereotype me, or just if I feel in at any stereotype at all. So I do not respect superficial conversations. That's 100% what I don't respect. I have a heart as for real and honest conversations. And regarding the target group that we have chosen for this specific project is people living between cultures in Iceland, but in a globe, not just in Iceland, but we're going to start with people that live between cultures in Iceland. But we are also targeting people that live between cultures, period. Because this is not a thing just that happens here in the island. This is something that's happening worldwide. And I am connecting with a lot of people that's experiencing living between cultures and experiencing frustration, alienation, not feeling connecting, and searching to belong and connect, to be part, to be accepted. And yes, we also have the natives, which are multicultural and are open minded. And not just that, but most of them have also experienced living between cultures because they're married to a foreigner, because they have been living abroad, learning something new, and maybe moving back later. And maybe they have some relative that's from Denmark or Sweden or from some other country, and they are connected to other lands. So these people are actually living between cultures, but it's something that's hidden for them because they feel most of my closest circle is Icelandic or native, and they say I don't live between cultures, but maybe they get gifts sometimes that are weird. They're invited to dinners that are very multicultural, and they are testing things they don't understand. So yeah, we have these modern adults that are in the middle of life, reevaluation who they are, what their career is, but most of them are just living between cultures. What should I do now? Living between cultures. What's my path? Living between cultures. Where am I going with this? We have the immigrants, the expats. Yes. The Unbox with Post the Unbox with Tómasdóttir Podcast is a podcast that is gonna keep meaningful, honest conversation, real connections. The podcast will explore layer realities of modern life, creating spaces of recognition where listeners feel seen, understood, and less alone, while addressing identity, authenticity, and the courage to be yourself in a world that is always finding labels and tagging us. It's okay to live in a world where we're tagged and recognized by a tag, but it's also good to come out of that circle and say, this is me, not necessarily connected to where I come from. What it is and why it matters. Well, this is a podcast, I repeat, about life between cultures in Iceland. And why it matters? Because communities are growing and growing and growing. Immigration is growing and growing and it's expanding. And it's necessary to make these new people feel they belong in order to find a common ground when we can all coexist in the same space without destroying history or without taking over somebody else's culture, and like making minorities feel they are welcome and they don't need to feel that being a minority is what determines who they are, but instead is what is going to open the door for them to be part of this society that wants to keep traditions and all of that. Many foreigners move to countries thinking, now I need to find my own club, instead of thinking, I will be part of the club that already exists. So, yes, this is the gap that we're trying to like destroy the gap, fill it, and say, you know what, I can belong. I can keep my own identity, but still I can belong. Who is it that I can talk to and have these honest and real conversations about me, who I am, and maybe build connections that will guide us to a better future. We have many guests invited to this podcast. For example, we have Paula Gold, who is an innovator and had come to Iceland with a lot of great innovation ideas. We have Kristen Lee Hugsdottir. She is an Australian scientist, but is half Icelandic and have definitely lived between cultures, as have Iris Leaf Stefansdottir, who have been living in Ecuador since she was 18. Something I did. I came to Iceland when I was 18. She moved to Ecuador when she was 18, and her life switched. But now that she's back, she have returned to Iceland. She have also to work herself through to get back to belonging and being part of this society, this community. We have Juan Camilo Roman, who also experienced a lot of adjusting, but at the same time, with such a spirit, such a positive spirit, he sees the possibilities and how being part of Iceland is so positive and how can be progressive to generate a better future and the probabilities that you're going to become a winner if you belong, if you work yourself on belonging without losing who you are. That's so important. We also will have these conversations with Achola, who works with inclusion, inclusivity. And we have also Suzette, who's from Peru. She moved to Iceland when she was 14, and she has navigated herself also in living this life between cultures and working to help other foreigners adjust also into Icelandic society. We have Sava Jamal, who is also an innovator and cares a lot about technology and is also helping others to feel included. We had Jewel Chowers. I think most of the people around English speakers, they know Jules for her work about displaying Iceland out. How do Iceland looks for foreigners while they are just living abroad? Tourists come to Iceland with a safe, already built impression of what Iceland look like because Joel is sharing. So yes, these are like the first 8 episodes I'm building, and we have more guests to come, and it's very interesting, that this is a formal conversation, but it's also very flexible at the same time. The space is formal because we want this to be a real platform where people can feel, okay, here I can come and share, I will listen, this is a real thing. But at the same time, we don't want stiff conversations. We want it to be more like people chatting and talking. And a little bit about me: after living in Iceland for 20 years, I was feeling a little bit depressed and lonely. So I decided to start inviting people for coffee, and my first goal was to meet 100 people. After I reached this goal of 50, like half of the main goal that was 100, I started picking up things around that so many people felt very similar to me: lonely, segregated, not belonging, not being part, hard to make friends. And I was like, okay, so I'm not alone in this. And then also I found that other Icelandics were so open to take me in under their wing and teaching me things and sharing with me how the system actually works. And I was like, you know what? Let's take more coffees with more people, but let's this be something that's open to the public so other people can share, relate their story live, and learn from these people that have already come over this mountain and succeed in their journey on finding themselves without losing who they are, looking forward into the future and building up this structure to belong and be part of the society we're living in. So, yes, I hope this is enough for you to understand what the podcast is about, why I built this podcast, and I see you on the launching of the podcast. And I hope you enjoy. I will be waiting for all of your comments. Thank you.